Welcome to Butterflies of Wisdom, everyone. Man, do I wish I had this system of my next guest when I was in the hospital. For those of you who are just tuning into this podcast and don't know my story, I was diagnosed with hemiplegia cerebral palsy at birth. But my next guest has probably saved 1,000 families and at least 1,000 kids because she is the founder, or maybe she's a co-founder, of Tiny Superheroes. And what Tiny Superheroes does is they make capes for kids in the hospital. And yes, you can nominate a kid who needs a cape. And so yes, I wish I had this system as a young child, but obviously I did. But I get to now help these parents understand not only cerebral palsy, but other disabilities through Robyn's capes, which are called Tiny Superheroes. So without further ado, I'm going to let Robyn take it away.
It is so good to be here. Thank you so much. It's been a long time coming, but I'm glad we're finally here.
I am, too. It's been a long time coming. It's been a long time coming. So, okay, why did you start this amazing nonprofit?
So, it pretty much came to me. I would say I cannot take any credit for this whole thing, but in 2012, my nephew was having a birthday, and I wanted to make him a birthday present, and so I had a sewing machine that I didn't really know how to use, but I made him a superhero cape. So it was kind of just like a crafty adventure. And then I made, like, my son, I had sons now, and at the time I had one. Actually, one of my sons is with me right now. He's 6 weeks old, so if you hear him, I'm so sorry.
Yes, I would just go say that. Trust me, Robyn, I teach kids. So
okay,
you get kid noise that you got to do what you have to do as a solo entrepreneur.
So I made my nephew's cape and my son a cape and our dog a cape, and really what happened was just kind of like things lined up. So my son was born in 2011, and just a few months after, a wonderful family out of Illinois had their second daughter, and she was expected to be born healthy, but when she was born, she looked very different than they were expecting, and she ended up having a very, very rare and severe skin disorder called harlequin ichthyosis. So her mom, what'd you say?
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and so her mom, whose name is Courtney Westlake, who has, like, since wrote a book about their story, and but her mom started a blog when Brenna was born, and I started reading it, and I was reading it every day. And one day, I can clearly remember I was rocking my son and reading her blog on my phone, and I thought, you know what, Brenna needs a cape. So Brenna was the inspiration for me for the very first Tiny Superhero cape, and I loved it, and I loved being able to do something for people. And so I just found 10 other kids through the internet who were battling something, and I sent them capes. And we have now in 4 years sent over 10,000 capes. And I tell you, it is a journey of faith for sure. And it is something that I just feel really blessed to, be the person driving the vehicle, but I don't know where we're going,
Yeah. I never know where this podcast is going to take me now. Glenn, I heard your story on another podcast way back when. I don't know where I heard your story, but man, your story just fascinated me because, Glenn, I was the kid in the hospital, but without the Tiny Superhero cape, thank you very much. And so looking back on it now, I wish they implemented this system in children's hospitals. Now, you said on the previous podcast that I was listening to that you can nominate someone. How does that work? I mean, you're dealing with million children's hospitals all across the country, not only Denver Children's Hospital, which is the third-ranked children's hospital in the country by U.S. News and World Report. And so how does nominating a kid work?
So I would say most of our, actually, I would say 90% of the capes that we send out go directly to the family. So a lot of the kids are in the hospital, but the families actually receive the capes at home or wherever they have us ship it to. So basically through our website, which is tinysuperheroes.com, anybody can nominate a child who they think is a tiny superhero, and we donate capes to kids battling any illness or disability. And so they fill out a nomination form on our website, which creates our waiting list of kids who are waiting for capes. And then through selling capes and through people sponsoring the waitlist capes, that's how we're able to keep it funded. So really all of the capes that we send out come from people going to our website and nominating their kids, which is so neat because we are sending capes all over the world, and we're sending them to kids like with so many variety of superpowers that we're really creating a really cool community. And my hope is that we are growing to create an inclusive community.
Yes, it's all about including people with disabilities. Granted, I can tell you from first-hand experience, it's scary as heck when they go you away from your parents back to have some surgery. I've had so many surgeries. I've been under the knife so many times for my disability that every time it scares me, even as an adult. It just scares me somehow. So I believe as an adult, even though adults are not included in this system that Robyn has created, I believe adults with physical disabilities should be included in this system. But that's just me.
No, I love that. I agree with you.
That's just me that believes, because for those of you who don't know, and then we'll get to Brenda's disease in a minute, for those of you who don't know, CP doesn't get worse. It is not genetic, and I can't pass it on to my kids if I choose to have kids. So CP is a childhood disability, but yeah, I'm stuck with it at 30 years old. So that's why I think adults should be incorporated in this system.
First of all, you just educated me a lot about CP, which I really appreciate. We have a lot of tiny superheroes on our squad with CP.
Really?
Yeah.
How many would you say?
Oh my goodness, I wouldn't even be able to guess, but I mean, I'm friends with a big handful of tiny superheroes that have CP, and I love them. I love them.
Yeah, you love it. And now, as you guys know by now, CP it varies by case, but you can have the most mild form of CP or the most severe. So that's why Robyn's system is so special to me. And for those of you who don't know what polycyclosis is, and I apologize if I pronounced that medical term wrong, it's a disease where where the skin thickens, and it almost turns like I don't know how to describe it, but it starts peeling. And what ends up happening is the skin starts peeling, and so the child literally has to be scrubbed of dead skin. And of course, if the skin doesn't take care of, the skin gets bed sores, and then they have to get sent to the hospital, and that's where the magic godmother Robyn flies in and sends a cake. So basically, what that disease is more horrible than CP. You guys may think CP's bad enough, but that disease in itself is not good. And it's a childhood disease. I don't believe they grow out of it. Do they? I don't.
No, they don't.
They don't. Now I have to do more research myself.
Yeah, it's a really, it's very rare, and so there's big steps, I think, being taken now, learning more about it, and Brenna's mom is a huge advocate for that, which is just so awesome. But there's really, right now, there's no cure. There's really not even, drugs that can treat it. It's like maintenance, it's like taking care of your skin, which, before learning about Brenna, I never really thought of how important our skin is, but her skin is missing a protein and it changes everything, so it's interesting. Like, one of the things Tiny Superheroes has really taught me is just about, gratitude. And, I really feel like if we're living our life looking for things that are going wrong, you're always going to find them. But if you kind of like shift your lens to start looking for the things that are blessings, you'll find them too. And, I never would have thought like that I was so blessed by my skin, but we're so blessed by skin that works properly, but, overall I would say like that's really the biggest thing that Tiny Superheroes has given me, is like through family after family and story after story and email after email, I am inspired to live my life with that different lens, and to see what we have to be grateful for in every scenario,
I do know. And, yeah, and I'm just so grateful. As I said at the start of this interview, I am so grateful to Robyn that I may nominate a cake in honor of butterflies of wisdom to make someone feel like a butterfly, because this is just my mission to educate people about disabilities. And obviously, it's not your mission, Robyn, to educate people with about disabilities, but you are certainly doing a great job as an able-bodied woman, helping all these kiddos that are not seeing the light of day. I mean, they're seeing a playroom in a hospital, and it's barely a playroom. Trust me.
Yeah.
Just there.
Yeah. So actually, through the years, educating people has become something that is super important to me, because like the deeper I've gotten into Tiny Superheroes and the more families I feel like, I can call my friends, the more that I have learned about, my personal experience of like not knowing anything, and I am so fortunate that like through Tiny Superheroes, everything I have been able to learn, but I've like watched my friends who are typical and raising typical kids, they're having no exposure or conversation about, disabilities, really, is what it comes down to. Their kids aren't interacting with other kids that have disabilities until school. And when I was like researching it, I was just totally blown away that by age 3, kids are as prejudiced as their parents. And
Yes.
Kids aren't going to kindergarten until like 6, So I was looking at my kids and then I was looking at my friends' kids, and I was like, the missing piece here is that they just don't know, and they don't know how to talk about it, and they don't talk about it. So one of the things we recently started at the end of last year was like a monthly membership program where I'm really gearing it towards all families of kids with all abilities. And we want typical families participating because every month we introduce them to a tiny superhero so they get to kind of see pictures and learn language, so they would learn about what is cerebral palsy and why is someone using a wheelchair or why is somebody using a walker, so that the first time they encounter it in real life is no longer the first time, One of my
Thank you, Robyn, for doing that. I appreciate that. That makes my job a heck of a lot easier as an educator. You just made my job a heck of a lot easier. So,
good. Glad you like me.
No chance. And I'm so sorry about this, Robyn. As we tie up my interview with you, where can people find you, and how can people get a hold of you?
Yes. So tinysuperheroes.com has everything you need. But you can also find us at Tiny Superheroes on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can message us through any of those or through email. And we would really love to answer more questions or help in any way. Certainly, we would love for you to nominate the kids in your life who need a cape. And you can also purchase capes, which is really what facilitates us being able to do this. So I am so, so grateful to get to meet you, and I will continue being friends.
Well, we'll continue being friends. And before I let you go, I want you to ask me one question that you have. Now, it can be anything about cerebral palsy or anything.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so here is what I want to know. I want your help. I want to know how to teach families for their kids to talk to people. Are you in a chair?
I in a wheelchair. No, I am in a walker. But
in a walker.
How people should talk to people with disabilities is get down at a level and not necessarily talk behind their back.
Okay. So if a kid has a question, are you comfortable with a kid asking you questions?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
The talking behind back annoys me. Annoys the heck out of me, and it's just super annoying. But and asking their parents loud enough so I can hear it. Mommy, why is that going walking? And yeah.
Okay, that is so helpful. Thank you. I'm so glad it's really awesome that you ever made the chance to ask you a question. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm happy that you got on my podcast, Robyn, and I continue to support you and continue to support Tiny Superheroes. And I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode. And this podcast episode not only was blessed by Tiny Superheroes, but this podcast episode is sponsored by Grace by Grit. Grace by Grit is closing the line out of California. Grace by Grit is giving us 20% off, 20% off for anything of their clothing line. So check them out in the show notes, and I hope you guys enjoyed another fabulous episode. Thanks to you guys.
Hello, Wynn?